So why does the calm approach work? Well, it's inherently linked and based on being reconnected with your dog. When we're reconnected with our dog, we're not in our human conditioned mindset, we're not judging, blaming, feeling resentment, anger or frustration towards our dogs for performing behaviours that they do in any given situation, behaviours that are normal from their point of view. And there's a lot of things that I'm going to uncover with these videos, the footage here, that's going to give you an idea of why the calm approach works. So in this first footage, so here again, we've got Morty, he's grooming himself, but it's been a very noisy day again because we've got lots of barking dogs and it's on the weekend, humans are out, dogs are left at home alone on the weekend with nothing to do. And so I'm trying to get Morty to interact with his stuffed toy here because this is the one that actually makes him feel a lot better. He likes to chew on that, as you can see here, and he self-soothes. So with this, you can see his ears are moving, he's not really focused on it. He's wanting to rub his face now because he had a little bit of a snack just beforehand. He had some cooked chicken hearts, just a small portion of that. And so he's just rubbing his face because it feels good. He likes to do that after he has chicken hearts or chicken livers. So basically, the hamburger wasn't working, so what I do now is I get his bed, which is one that he really enjoys doing this sort of interaction with, because you can see the material of the bed. It mimics the feeling of a fur coat of an animal, of a prey, and so he likes to chew on that and soothe himself. So the hamburger wasn't working, so I got his bed out because that's a more powerful way of helping him to settle down his emotional level and get a little bit more emotional satisfaction out of that situation. That's really causing him a lot of internal conflict, and you can see that his ears are moving, and he's listening, he's sensitized to what's going on because there were a lot of dogs barking, and you might actually hear some dogs barking in the background. So here he's expressing his normal behavior, and he's releasing a little bit of tension that he's feeling from the situation, which is what I'm wanting to do. So when you're reconnected with your dog, this type of approach, the calm approach, is successful, and it works because we're in tune with our dog's emotional state. We understand the basic behaviour patterns that they perform in any everyday situation and in different situations, and we pick up on that and we look at their body language clues, and we understand that they're not feeling very calm or comfortable in that situation. And so we take steps to help reduce that internal conflict they're feeling. And in that case, I was using that mechanism to do that for Morty. All right, so what's the next one? So this is all on the same day. All this footage is from the same day. So we have Morty barking at the front door, and you can see that a car's just arrived and they're parked out the front. So he's still barking. So what I'm going to do is I'm not going to yell at him. I'm not going to tell him to shut up or live in my human conditioned mindset and get angry. I'm going to take the calm approach. I'm reconnected with Morty. That means I'm going to acknowledge what he's doing and say, yes, Morty, I can understand that you're feeling some conflict there. And I was raising my hand we have a couple of phrases that I say. I say, just look and listen. I was reassuring him. And then once he had stopped barking and I could feel that his tension had subsided to a different level, a lower level, I then opened the door because it meant that he wasn't going to rush out, because I'm reconnected with Morty, and I've seen this pattern of behaviour before where he will rush out the door because he wants to go and investigate what's happening, but he'll still bark, and that can escalate. So calming him down in phases at the front door before opening it, then walking out with him, acknowledging it, still talking to him in a nice, casual, soft tone of voice, but then also coming back, and I could see he had his head on a bit of a tilt, and his ear was at an odd angle, so maybe he brushed into some of the branches and got a little bit of pollen in his ear. But he came back, so we came back together. I'm actually helping him to get better at coming back to me when I'm asking him to, simply because he's in an emotional state that is less aroused than what he was, first of all, when he was barking at the front door. And so I walk down the hallway with him, and then I get something nice to reward him with. Now, dogs learn by association, and what that means is they associate their surroundings with their emotional state. If we can make that a pleasant experience for them, then it's likely that they want to feel that association again because they have a good memory of it. Now, in that respect, what I'm doing is two things. I'm actually reinforcing or helping Morty with his recall, with his basic response of coming when I call him. And in that situation, even though we were walking down the hallway together, he was still coming with me. And so he's learning by associating that behaviour in that situation or similar situations, that coming with me means that this situation is going to be a pleasant one for him. And so with that reassurance, with that acknowledging of the situation from his point of view, this all helps with respect to keeping us reconnected with our dogs and seeing answers in that situation, not just living in our human conditioned mindset and reacting unconsciously and impulsively, flying off the handle and just acting crazy. So the next one, all the same day. So Morty had been sitting out in the sun, and you'll see what was happening in the next piece of footage, because this one is actually before. So, oh no, this is the one. So Morty was barking at some wildlife and also other dogs barking in the neighbourhood because it's the weekend and all the dogs are home alone with nothing to do because their humans have gone off to do whatever they want to do, even though the dogs have been at home alone the whole week with nothing to do in the same situation. And so when we have this frustration building, we see that Morty is going to bark like this, and it's going to be difficult to then get him to calm down because he's already aroused. He's already stimulated in that negative emotional state from his point of view, because it could be emotionally satisfying to him in the respect that he's able to bark and let off some tension that way, and he's performing a territorial, if you like, behaviour or an alert behaviour. But from his point of view, it's still not a positive emotional state. And so what I did in that circumstance is, as you can see, in the previous videos, and if you've watched episode 1, you will also see me gesturing to Morty to come to me. What I'm doing is I'm helping Morty's recall, that is coming with me, asking him to follow the hand target, to follow me back to a situation and a location where there's less stimulating things happening, so I can redirect that situation to a more positive one from his point of view. And in that situation there, I was fortunate that because I've been reconnected to Morty for years since he came to us, I've been preparing and inserting these real-world opportunities with respect to asking him to come to me, whether that would be when he's at the front door, when he's just come back from a walk and he's going to run through the door anyway, using that real-world opportunity, as you saw in episode 1, of me using that gesture to get Morty to come to me. So when you do things like that and you plan ahead and prepare, the calm approach works because you're laying down the foundations for your dog to see that you're being consistent in every situation, even though they may be more challenging than other situations. So here, Morty he did fantastic. He did so well, even though he was so stimulated and aroused. He was actually able to follow a basic request, follow the hand technique, follow a hand target, and come back and just sit on his bed in the sun there. And I gave him some affection with respect to just touching him on his paw, just to acknowledge that, thanks mate, I appreciate you coming back, even though that was very difficult for him to do. Okay, so probably around about 15 to 20 minutes later, we've still got barking dogs intermittently, and Morty has been sitting out in the sun being a really, really good boy while I've been inside doing things. But now he's barking at some insects. So this is telling me Morty's bored, he's frustrated, he wants something to do. So I'm reconnected with my dog. I understand that because I see these patterns of behaviour and I look at his life from his point of view, not mine. And so I understand that I might be in here on my computer doing something that I want to do, but what about Morty? So I acknowledge that, and I acknowledge that he's been sitting there in the sun being a really good boy, but now he has some mental stimulation to give you some emotional satisfaction from your point of view as a dog. And the best thing you can do is get your dog's nose to the ground, and look, Morty's in his happy place. He's enjoying his food puzzle toy of just that simple scatter of kibble on the ground there, and that's going to keep him occupied for a good couple of minutes. But what that's doing, it's getting his nose to the ground, it's getting him sniffing. That sniffing is decreasing his stress levels in his head, which also brings his heart rate down. And when you have a nice slow heart rate, or your heart's not beating very fast and you don't have that adrenaline rush, when you're in a calm state of mind, you're able to perform basic requests. So if Morty had finished and I wanted him to come back inside with me, it would have been relatively easy for me to take that calm approach and just ask him to come back inside with me, because that gave me an opportunity to help Morty's emotional state become a positive one, rather than being a negative one, a frustrated one in that situation of being potentially ignored, like millions and millions of dogs are ignored every single day. And then humans wonder why their dogs bark and are reactive on leash, reactive in the backyard, reactive in any situation that they want to throw at you. So the next one, just an example of what it was like on that Sunday. And you will hear barking dogs, and here I am just setting up some food puzzle toys for Morty, and getting him to just come in and enjoy himself. And so this here, I've got a range of things for him to do, things that are incompatible with barking. So when we think about, and this is why the calm approach works, is because when you're reconnected with your dog, you understand all these little nuances with respect to the behaviours that your dog likes to perform. And Morty loves chewing, he likes rope toys and things like that. So, but oftentimes when you have a chew toy or a rope toy, that can be very arousing to dogs, because usually there's lots of movement. They're running around, they've got the toy in their mouth, or you're playing tug-of-war. But here I'm giving Morty some food puzzle toys that actually get him to chew. And you can see that's just a loo roll that I've folded down one end and put some cooked chicken, cooked boiled chicken in there that's been warmed up in the microwave just a little bit, and put that in the loo roll, empty loo roll, and then folded the other end down. And he's going to chew on that, and then he's going to pry that open and release the food treat inside. Same with the Tetra Paks here that you can see in the little cardboard box. But what it's doing, it's keeping Morty occupied in a way that's beneficial from his point of view as a dog, getting him to perform behaviours that are incompatible with barking, which is chewing. And you see he's going to waddle over to the other ones shortly. But I'm going to play this video in real time. It's only 5 minutes, but you can see that this is all already just coming up to a couple of minutes. And you can hear occasionally barking dogs in the background. But you can see how this isn't an issue for Morty, because he's got something that's more stimulating from his point of view that's keeping his focus, something that is mentally beneficial and productive from his point of view. So this was really challenging, because we had barking dogs happening in the neighbourhood, like on and off all day. And so when you're not home, obviously you don't hear it, but obviously your neighbours will hear that. When you're reconnected with your dog, you understand that you can inadvertently cause the suffering of other humans, even though it's a trivial form of suffering, but it's still suffering. People are going to be annoyed, people are going to be frustrated. People have been driven to throw poisoned or baited food over fences in order to kill dogs. That's how unconscious humans can be in their human conditioned mindset when they're trapped in their own unconscious way of acting and stewing and suffering and getting angry and frustrated with barking dogs. And this is the thing that can happen. It's a really extreme thing, but it has happened, in many different parts of the world, across the world, and possibly even in your neighbourhood, depending on where you're watching this video from. So look, even though I've still been talking and just talking and the time has been continuing on, this is still 3.5 minutes and there's still barking dogs in the background that you might have heard intermittently. But Morty's, he's really engrossed in this. And what this is going to do, it's also going to help him to be able to rest and not be jumping up and running out the backyard or running to the front door because he's trying to find something to stimulate him mentally. We're stimulating him mentally in a way that's giving him fantastic emotional satisfaction because he's doing what a dog does. This is how dogs hunt for their food. They forage, they dig up things, they chase things. We certainly don't want them to be chasing wildlife or other animals, but this gives them the ability to manipulate objects, which is what they would do in the wild in order to search for their food. And by simply providing this sort of thing for your dog, you're letting them be a dog, but you're also reconnecting yourself to your dog, because the amount of emotional satisfaction that you get from seeing your dog performing behaviour that they are born to do, that's imprinted in their DNA, but we've completely diluted it out of their environment because we're shoehorning them into Stockholm syndrome type of lives where they don't have any choice over what they get to do during a day. And that's every single day of their life, 365 days of the year. So what I'm hoping that you can see is the wisdom that I've imparted with being reconnected with your dog and actually being a human that takes the calm approach. Because when you do that, you recognise patterns about your dog's behaviour, you're able to plan ahead, you're able to anticipate things, you're able to adjust your plan, as you saw in the first piece of footage. So you can redirect their behaviour to something that's productive from their point of view, but you're also reducing the potential suffering of yourself with respect to getting angry, frustrated, judgmental, blaming your dog for the behaviour that they're performing, which is normal from their point of view. What you're also doing is reducing the suffering of other people that are living around you, if you have a barking dog in particular, but also your dog's suffering. And when you hear, because you're providing them with something that they need, things that they need as a species, and you recognise that, but you're also helping to reduce the suffering of those barking dogs that you hear around you, because you're not putting out bad energy, you're not being disconnected from the potential suffering that barking dogs may be and are enduring in your neighbourhood every single day, because they're being left on their own by their human family with nothing to do, nothing productive to do, and this is happening every single day of their life. Okay, so I think I've given you a lot to try to implement in your own lives with your own dogs, and I hope that you can see the wisdom that I've imparted to you today and reconnect with your dog in any way that's meaningful for you. We'll talk again soon.